Your next international vacation could be the most expensive mistake you ever make. Under the 2026 residency mandate, staying outside the country for just 31 days triggers an immediate suspension of your SSA checks. We are breaking down the new tracking mechanisms that are flagging beneficiaries the moment they board. In the next few minutes on Macro Signal, I'm revealing the critical 2026 updates that every Social Security beneficiary must know right now, including how the 30 consecutive days outside the country rule is being strictly enforced with enhanced data sharing starting this year before you book that next trip. This information could literally save your monthly checks. The Social Security Administration is officially auditing your physical presence, and the rules have changed for 2026. If you fail to meet the strict new residency requirements, you face permanent benefit clawbacks and a total loss of eligibility. Learn exactly how the government tracks your travel to stop your payments. Most travelers don't realize that their monthly benefits are now tied to a strict 30-day countdown. We are dismantling the 2026 residency rule to show you the specific reporting failures that lead to lost eligibility status. Don't let a simple trip overseas result in a permanent loss of your hard-earned checks. Welcome back to Macro Signal, where we deliver straight talk on retirement security, government benefits, and protecting your income. If you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits, SSDI, survivor's benefits, or especially SSI, stay locked in through this entire video because the details on the 2026 residency rule enforcement I'm about to share could directly protect or jeopardize your monthly income. Watch until the very end for the complete checklist and recovery steps that could save you thousands. Let's get into the new reality of the 30-day limit. The current 2026 enforcement of the residency rule mandates benefit suspension after 30 consecutive days outside the country for many beneficiaries, especially those receiving supplemental security income known as SSI. Under this 30 consecutive days outside the country rule, once you hit that 31st day abroad, your payments can stop automatically. The Social Security Administration distinguishes between a temporary vacation and a permanent change of residence under the updated guidelines by examining your overall intent, how long you've been away, and whether you maintain strong ongoing connections to the United States, such as keeping a home, paying taxes, or maintaining bank accounts here. A temporary vacation is typically seen as a short trip under 30 consecutive days outside the country, while anything that looks like a permanent change of residence raises major red flags. This clear distinction between temporary vacation and permanent change of residence under the 2026 residency rule is absolutely vital because confusing the two can lead to sudden suspension of your SSA checks and months of financial hardship. Moving from these basic definitions, we now turn to the high-tech digital net now used to track every beneficiary crossing the border. The digital surveillance of international travel has ramped up significantly with real-time data sharing between Customs and Border Protection and the Social Security Administration's tracking database. This means your movements are cross-checked faster than ever before. Electronic passport pings and airline manifest logs trigger automated red flags before you even land back on U.S. soil in many cases. These systems log your departure and entry dates precisely, shifting the focus from how they watch you to the specific legal traps created by failing to self-report these movements. Failing to self-report these movements under the 2026 residency rule opens up serious legal traps that can turn a fun vacation into a nightmare of paperwork and lost benefits. This brings us directly to reporting failures and the clawback trap. You must identify and file the exact administrative forms that must be filed to prevent an automatic whereabouts unknown suspension. Key among these is Form SSA 21, the supplement to claim of person outside the United States, which you need to submit when traveling for extended periods. Filing the correct administrative forms, like SSA 21, is non-negotiable to stay compliant with the 30 consecutive days outside the country rule. The SSA calculates overpayments during unauthorized absences by counting every month or partial month you were considered ineligible, then initiates aggressive monthly benefit garnishments to recover those funds directly from future checks. These calculations of overpayments during unauthorized absences often result in aggressive monthly benefit garnishments that can slash your income by hundreds of dollars each month until the debt is cleared. This connects the administrative penalties straight to the more severe long-term risk of losing your eligibility status entirely under the 2026 Residency rule. Real beneficiaries have already been hit hard. Take Robert, a 67-year-old retiree from Florida. He took what he thought was a simple 45-day European vacation in early 2026 without filing the proper administrative forms. When he returned, his SSA checks were suspended due to the 30 consecutive days outside the country rule. The SSA calculated overpayments and started aggressive monthly benefit garnishments that took nearly 25% of his check for 6 months. Robert had to fight through appeals and provide extensive documentation just to get payments restarted. His story shows exactly how the 2026 residency rule turned a relaxing trip into serious financial stress. Another example is Maria, an SSI recipient from Texas who visited family in Mexico for 35 days. The data sharing between Customs and Border Protection and the Social Security Administration flagged her absence through electronic passport pings and airline manifest logs. She faced a whereabouts unknown suspension and clawback demands that nearly caused her to lose eligibility status entirely. These cases of real beneficiaries illustrate why understanding reporting failures and the clawback trap is essential. Now let's examine physical presence audits and permanent loss. The 2026 physical presence audit process requires beneficiaries to prove their U.S. residence via utility bills and tax records when SSA reviews your file. In this physical presence audit process, you receive requests for documents showing you still live in the United States and haven't moved abroad permanently. The criteria that lead the SSA to classify a beneficiary as effectively abandoned their U.S. domicile include extended time away combined with things like selling your home, canceling utilities, or failing to file U.S. taxes. Once classified as having effectively abandoned their U.S. domicile, it often leads to a total file closure and complete loss of benefits. This physical presence audit process and the risk of being labeled as having effectively abandoned their U.S. domicile represent the most serious threat under the 2026 residency rule. From these technicalities of loss, we move to the actionable steps required to maintain compliance while still enjoying travel. Protecting your checks in a globalized world starts with a practical checklist for planning international trips that stay within the safe harbor window to avoid triggering an investigation. First, keep trips under 30 consecutive days outside the country whenever possible. Second, always notify the Social Security Administration in advance if you plan to be away longer. Third, keep every travel document, including boarding passes, passport stamps, and hotel receipts. Fourth, maintain strong U.S. ties with active bank accounts, utility bills in your name, and current voter registration. Fifth, use the official SSA Payments Abroad screening tool before any trip. This checklist for planning international trips helps you stay safely inside the 30-day limit. A powerful tool is the full-month rule strategy, which allows for limited travel without violating the 2026 residency mandate. The full-month rule strategy involves timing your return carefully so you re-establish presence for a full calendar month or the required 30 consecutive days back in the United States. For SSI recipients especially, the full-month rule strategy means planning returns to satisfy the reinstatement rules after any 30 consecutive days outside the country. Many beneficiaries have used this full-month rule strategy successfully. For instance, a couple on retirement benefits took several trips in 2026, each under 25 days, and stayed completely compliant because they followed the checklist and the full-month rule strategy. They maintained all documentation and self-reported, avoiding any issues with the digital surveillance of international travel. If you do receive a suspension notice, take these critical steps immediately to stop the clawback process before it becomes permanent. Contact the Social Security Administration right away by phone or in person. Submit all travel records. File any missing administrative forms like SSA 21 and request a waiver if the overpayment wasn't due to your fault. Gather utility bills, tax records, and proof of U.S. residence for the physical presence audit process. Appeal any decision quickly, and consider working with a benefits advocate. Acting fast when you receive a suspension notice can prevent the clawback process from becoming permanent and restore your payments. The 2026 Residency Rule and its enforcement through real-time data sharing between Customs and Border Protection and the Social Security Administration's tracking database, electronic passport pings, airline manifest logs, and the physical presence audit process demand your full attention. The 30 consecutive days outside the country rule applies especially strictly to SSI, but affects all beneficiaries if it looks like a permanent change of residence. Failing to self-report these movements creates legal traps that lead to overpayments, aggressive monthly benefit garnishments, and potential total loss of eligibility. The distinction between temporary vacation and permanent change of residence is reviewed carefully using your documented ties to the United States. Consider James, a 68-year-old SSDI recipient who spent 40 days abroad caring for family. Without proper filing of administrative forms, he faced the physical presence audit process and had to prove he had not effectively abandoned his U.S. domicile using months of utility bills and tax records. James avoided total file closure, but learned the hard way about the 30 consecutive days outside the country rule and the importance of the full-month rule strategy. Another beneficiary, an elderly woman from California, ignored a suspension notice and lost several months of checks to garnishments before she responded. These repeated examples of what happens when you ignore the 2026 residency rule show why vigilance matters. To stay protected, always repeat in your mind the key rules: the 30 consecutive days outside the country rule, the need to file administrative forms like SSA 21, the physical presence audit process requirements, and the dangers of being seen as having effectively abandoned their U.S. domicile. Plan every trip using the checklist and the full-month rule strategy. Keep strong U.S. connections no matter how much you travel. The digital surveillance of international travel makes hiding absences nearly impossible, so transparency through self-reporting is your best defense against reporting failures and the clawback trap. If you're still watching this far, you clearly care about protecting your benefits. Subscribe to Macro Signal right now. Turn on notifications, and share this video with every friend or family member who receives SSA checks. The knowledge in this video on the 2026 residency rule could save their monthly payments too. Hit the like button if this is helping you understand the 30 consecutive days outside the country rule, and comment below with your biggest takeaway so we know to bring more content like this. Continuing deeper, the enforcement of the 2026 residency rule builds on years of data partnerships but has become far more automated. Electronic passport pings feed directly into systems that flag potential violations of the 30 consecutive days outside the country rule long before you return. This creates urgency around filing the exact administrative forms needed. Overpayments during unauthorized absences are calculated precisely, often including interest or penalties, leading to those aggressive monthly benefit garnishments that can devastate fixed incomes. Long-term, repeated issues raise the risk of full eligibility termination after a physical presence audit process determines you have effectively abandoned your U.S. domicile. More examples reinforce this. A veteran on SSDI traveled for medical treatment abroad for 50 days without reporting. His case triggered full review, overpayment calculations, and temporary garnishments until he provided proof and followed the full-month rule strategy upon return. Another SSI recipient lost benefits for nearly a year after multiple short trips added up in the eyes of the SSA due to weak U.S. ties. These stories of beneficiaries facing the 2026 residency rule consequences highlight the need for the checklist and immediate action on any suspension notice. In a globalized world, you can still enjoy travel safely by staying within the safe harbor window, using the full-month rule strategy, and maintaining compliance with every aspect of the 2026 residency rule. The distinction between temporary vacation and permanent change of residence, supported by solid documentation, is what keeps your checks flowing. Watch this entire video again if you need to take notes. Like and comment "Protect my checks" below to show you're serious about the 30-day limit, and subscribe to Macro Signal for ongoing updates on all benefit changes. Share this widely because one overlooked trip under the 2026 residency rule could cost someone you know their entire monthly income. To wrap up, the 2026 residency rule, with its 30 consecutive days outside the country enforcement, digital surveillance of international travel, reporting requirements, physical presence audits, and clawback mechanisms, is the new reality every beneficiary must master. Stay informed, document everything, report properly, and act fast on any notices. This protects you from permanent loss of eligibility and keeps your hard-earned SSA checks coming. If this video delivered the value you needed on the 2026 residency rule, subscribe immediately to Macro Signal, hit the like button, turn on the bell, and comment "I watched till end" right now to commit to protecting your benefits. Watch the full breakdown, share it with your network, and stay ahead of every change. Your financial security in retirement depends on taking these steps today. Thanks for watching the complete video. I'll see you in the next Macro Signal update.